There was a shop in my hometown. I'm sure you know the one. They sold books and magazines, cards and figurines. They sold fantasy. We all walked past it. Some of us even went inside of it. But only a few, fewer than a few, were ever enticed into that shop's back room. I can remember, but I can't quite remember. Was it a curtain or a door that separated that main shop from the back room? The motion picture of my memory simply places a shroud of smoke and shadow over the entranceway. Across that threshold, on the other side of that bookshelved wall, dwelled an intriguing world of adults. My mid-pubescent mind entertained enchanting notions of occurrences and behaviors beyond the snatches of sound and the brief glimpses that I had into the heart of this small, dark back room. Grown men and large man-children gathered around books and magazines that I had never seen. Titles I didn't recognize. They spoke in the hushed tones of the secretive, freely mixing English with foreign words, some French, some German, and some even more alien to my ear. Excited utterances would occasionally be heard, bodies jumping from chairs, a single fist shaking furiously. The air smelled of sex and excitement. Conservative adults shied away from this shop. Not because of the general stock, but because of the back room. Religious adults called it sin, what those men were doing back there, an affront to God and to God-fearing. But these were the days before the internet, so the shop remained, supported by the purchasing habits of a micro-niche of the socially retarded. Yes, there was a shop in my hometown, the local comic book shop. And in the back, inviting like a siren song, the local Dungeons & Dragons tabletop role-playing game room. I had never played before. I barely even knew anybody who played. Maybe my older cousin-in-law, the one who at Christmas time had played for me my first ever heavy metal music and then explained to me the lyrics. But in my level 1 nerd brain and in my +2 sweatpants of patheticness, I was captivated. In my dreams, I am a weapon-wielding wizard because while waking, I am endlessly bullied and I felt undeserving of even imaginary friends. I can't recall how I found the flyer or if the flyer found me, but there it was one day towards the end of the school year, like magic. Role-playing summer camp intensive. A multi-week day camp, out of the sun, away from the bugs, just me and other improv-loving, fantasy-minded, dice-wielding dorks. My mother, in her infinite love and wisdom, signed me up without delay. My father, well, he is not a character in this story. So begins our journey, fellow travelers. My mother writes a check, and suddenly I have friends for a few weeks of the summer. We would meet in the morning, snacks and blank paper in tow, a new set of gaming dice awaiting each of us, included in the cost of the camp. Many of us had never seen a 4-sided die before and had yet to learn the joy of the natural 20. The learning curve is steep, but our dungeon master is patient and being paid by our parents. The first morning is filled with character creation. The subtlety of this term, role-playing, R-O-L-E, not R-O-L-L, meaning we're gaming with other personalities, not just dice. So now choose a race, human, dwarf, elf, or halfling. Now choose a class, cleric, fighter, magic user, or thief. I choose human fighter, endowing myself with a man's height and strength that had not yet emerged from my boyhood body. Next, your character's abilities and the first use of your dice. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and charisma. Yeah, you don't get to choose your own abilities at the start. Now that's later on in the game as you train and level up. At the beginning, chaos and luck decide your fate. 3d6, 3 6-sided die. It's a bell curve value between 3 and 18. Strength, a composite of physical power, endurance, and stamina. 11, barely a warrior. Intelligence, reasoning, learning, memory, and language skills. 7, he's a bit of an idiot. Wisdom, willpower, judgment, enlightenment, intuitiveness. 9, makes bad decisions. Dexterity, hand-eye coordination, agility, reflex speed, balance, and actual running speed. 6, slow to boot. Constitution, it's your health, your resistance, your fitness. 5, he catches a cold in a slight breeze. Charisma, 18, a perfect score. I looked down at those 3 6s staring up at me from the tabletop like 9 pairs of black eyes. I was perfect at something. Perfect in some way, but what? I didn't know this word, charisma. It means you're pretty, says one of the other kids. Well, actually, says Gary, the dungeon master, Many people have a sad misconception that charisma is merely physical attractiveness. This error is obvious to anybody who considers the subject of perceptiveness. Charisma is a combination of physical appearance, persuasiveness, and personal magnetism. True charisma becomes evident when one considers such historical examples as Julius Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, Adolf Hitler. Now, obviously, these individuals did not have an 18 score of physical beauty, but there is no question that these individuals had an 18 in charisma. Now, imagine how high their scores would be had they had greater physical attractiveness, as well as a commanding personal magnetism and superb persuasiveness. An attractive Hitler. Now truly, charisma is a mighty weapon. So our characters created, we break for lunch, bologna sandwiches and Capri Sun. Our bellies full, we head into our first dungeon. Now my fighter is not cut out for this. I lose both my long and short sword in our first encounter with a rust monster. Low intelligence and wisdom, remember? I'm quickly paralyzed during our fight with a carrion crawler. No dexterity, weak constitution. And my 11 strength body is just big enough to slow down my party's attempt to escape from a gang of kobolds. Now, by the end of the afternoon, everyone has gained gold and loot and enough experience to level up but me. We exit the dungeon the way we came and we travel to the nearest village for healing and supplies. As you approach the outskirts of the village, 2 giant Amazonian warrior women step out to block your path, says Gary. I'll sneak past them, says Josh, the eldest thief. They've already seen you. The third warrior woman who steps out to join them. I'll attack them with my net, says Phil, the dwarvish cleric. Your lawful good alignment prevents that, says Gary. They sense the threat and ready their weapons. I'll cast a charm spell on them, says Dale, the halfling magic user. Roll for it. A 4. Your spell fizzles out. 3 warrior women advance on you. Charisma, I say. What? Say the other kids. Roll for it, says Gary. A natural 20.